The city wakes up slowly on Sundays. The noise of the weekday hushes down, replaced by the rustling of leaves, the quiet chatter of pigeons, and the distant hum of a coffee cart setting up near the fountain. There's something gentler about this part of the week, something softer in the way sunlight sifts through the trees or the way people walk without rushing. In the center of Central Green Park, tucked beneath a canopy of tall sycamores, there is a bench, old, worn, a little crooked on one side. Just a bench, like thousands of others in the city, except that this one had a guardian. Every Sunday morning around 8:30 he would come, a man in his 50s, tall, with long dark hair that brushed his shoulders. His beard, speckled with gray, looked like it had been grown for thought, not fashion. He wore the same kind of jacket every week, black, simple, a little too warm for late spring, and boots that carried the dust of many places. He never brought a phone. No coffee, no book, just himself. And he sat, quiet, always at the far left corner of the bench, his right hand resting lightly on the wooden slat next to him, as if saving space for someone. Some people recognized him. A few whispered, pointing discreetly, "Is that Keanu Reeves?" Others passed without noticing. But no one ever approached, not because they didn't want to, but because something about him felt sacred. Like interrupting him would be interrupting a prayer you didn't understand. Children ran by with kites. Joggers circled the path. The world moved around him, but Keanu remained still, as though he were listening for something only he could hear. It had become a quiet ritual, his presence. Some of the regulars had nicknamed the bench the silence seat. A few elderly folks speculated, maybe he lost someone. Maybe he's waiting. A young couple once argued over whether it was a performance art piece or heartbreak, but no one knew, and Keanu never said a word. The truth was buried not in silence, but in memory. Many years ago, on a day much like this, he had sat here for the first time. Only back then, he hadn't been alone. She had been beside him, her laughter filling the air like bird song, her hand wrapped in his. They had shared a thermos of tea and spoken about the future like it was a friend they were about to meet. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and he whispered something only she could hear. It had been an ordinary day, nothing cinematic about it, no crowds, no rain. Just the sun, the bench, and the feeling that the world, just for that moment, made perfect sense. But moments don't last. Not even the perfect ones. It was a late-night drive, a road slick from unexpected rain, a flash of headlights, and then silence. A silence not just of sound, but of life. She was gone. So was the child growing inside her. And the world, once warm, once full, became a place with one chair forever empty. Keanu had disappeared for a while after that. From movies, from press, from life, he traveled. Not to find anything, but to escape what he could never leave behind. Yet somehow, his feet always found their way back to this bench, and every time he sat there, the wind seemed to carry her voice through the leaves. He never brought flowers, never spoke her name aloud. This wasn't about remembering, it was about being in the only place left where she still felt near. Some days he stayed 10 minutes, others an hour, but always he left the same way, without looking back. As if afraid that if he did, he might see her ghost smiling at him from the bench. But something was changing now. The weight of years had carved deeper lines into his face. The grief, though quiet, had not disappeared. It had simply grown used to its cage. He didn't know that this particular Sunday would be different. That a pair of small feet running off the beaten path. That a child's voice, clear and unafraid. That a single question from someone too young to understand loss but old enough to see sadness would change everything. That Sunday morning the sky was a little bluer than usual. Keanu sat in his usual place. Same coat, same silence, same distant gaze that seemed to stretch beyond the trees and into another time. The park was quiet save for the occasional chirp of birds and the rhythmic wheeze of a passing jogger. But something was different. Subtle at first. A sound. Light, quick, uneven. Footsteps. small ones. Not the kind that echoed with urgency or purpose, but the carefree rhythm of someone too young to worry about anything at all. A little girl came bounding down the path, arms flapping slightly for balance, pink sneakers slapping against the pavement. Her hair, a tangled mess of curls, bounced with every skip. She couldn't have been more than 7. She was chasing a squirrel. The squirrel, however, had other plans and darted up a tree near the bench. The girl halted, slightly out of breath, her cheeks flushed with adventure. And that's when she saw him. Keanu turned his head slightly, not startled, but curious. Most people avoided his gaze, but this child, this stranger, looked at him the way children look at clouds, with no expectation, no fear, just wonder. Their eyes met. Neither said a word. She stepped closer, just a little, then a little more, and then, without asking, she climbed onto the bench, plopping down beside him like they had known each other forever. Keanu glanced at her, amused but silent. After a moment, she dug into the pocket of her jacket and pulled out a crumpled candy wrapper. With great care, she peeled it open, revealing a single red lollipop. She stared at it, then at him. "Do you want it?" she asked. Her voice was soft, like a question wrapped in kindness. Keanu blinked, taken aback. It had been years since a stranger had offered him anything without a motive. No autograph, no photo, no request. Just a child, holding out a small piece of sugar like it was the most valuable thing in the world. He gave a small smile. "I think you should have it," he replied. The girl frowned, considering this. Then she nodded and unwrapped another candy from her other pocket. "I have 2, she announced. "One for me, one for someone sad." A pause. Keanu looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in what felt like centuries, he didn't see the park or the memories that clung to the bench. He saw now a child, a gesture, a moment he hadn't asked for but desperately needed. "Are you sad?" she asked, as if it were the most normal question in the world. Keanu's throat tightened. "Oh." He didn't lie. "Yes," he said quietly. "Sometime." She nodded like she understood. "My mom gets sad too. She says it's like rain inside your chest." Keanu breathed in slowly. That metaphor, simple, poetic, true, hit him harder than she could have known. "I lost someone," he said after a while. "A long time ago." The girl swung her feet under the bench, listening. "I come here because we used to sit here together." "Oh," she said, suddenly softer. "Like a secret place." "Yes," he whispered. "Exactly like that." She stared straight ahead, her lollipop now in her mouth, and after a few thoughtful licks, she said, "Well, I think it's okay to be sad here, but not all the time." Keanu almost chuckled. It was the kind of wisdom only children could carry without sounding preachy. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily," she said proudly. "What's yours?" He hesitated, not because he didn't want to tell her, but because it had been so long since someone had asked without already knowing. "Keanu," she smiled. "That's a cool name. Is it made up?" He laughed this time, a soft, genuine chuckle that felt strange in his chest. "No, it's real. It means cool breeze over the mountains." Lily let out a dramatic, "Whoa, that's so better than mine. Mine just means flower." "I think flowers are important," he said. "Why?" "Because they remind us that things can bloom again, even after winter." She was quiet after that, a long, thoughtful pause between two souls separated by decades but somehow sitting at the same edge of something. Grief, hope, or maybe both. Finally, she reached into her jacket again and pulled out a small notebook. On the first page was a drawing of a tree with red hearts instead of leaves. "I draw stuff when I feel lonely," she explained. "It makes the sad get smaller." She ripped the page out carefully and handed it to him. "For you," she said, "so the sad doesn't stay too big." Keanu took the drawing with both hands, treating it like it was made of glass. His voice, when it came, was barely more than a whisper. "Thank you, Lily." The wind picked up slightly, curling through the trees with a soft rustle, as if nature itself were leaning in to listen. Keanu looked down at the drawing in his hand. Red hearts blooming on the branches of a child's tree. So simple, so innocent, and yet it broke something open inside him. Lily was quiet now, sensing something in the air. Her lollipop was forgotten. She glanced at Keanu, then at the bench, then back to him. "Do you want to tell me about her?" she asked. No one had asked him that in years. He didn't speak right away. His eyes, heavy with years of unspoken sorrow, drifted toward the far end of the bench, the space he never let anyone sit. He nodded slowly. "I met her on a Tuesday," he began, voice low and steady, like a story he had told himself too many times. "She walked into a bookstore I was hiding in. It was raining outside. She didn't carry an umbrella, just a scarf she held over her head, laughing like she wasn't getting soaked." He paused, the memory catching like a lump in his throat. "She looked at me straight in the eye, not like a fan, not like someone who recognized me, just a stranger meeting another human. And in that moment, I felt like I had been seen for the first time in years." Lily listened, her hands folded neatly in her lap. "We didn't talk much that day. But the next day I went back to the bookstore. So did she. And that's how it started. Quietly, like a page turning." He smiled, just a little. "She was the first person who didn't try to fix me. She didn't try to understand everything. She just stayed, listened, made bad jokes. She burned toast every morning, danced while brushing her teeth, loved thunderstorms but hated the sound of car horns." Keanu's voice drifted with the rhythm of memory. "We didn't talk about fame or movies. We talked about dogs and what our kids might be like. She wanted to name our first child Juniper. I told her that sounded like a tree. She said, 'Exactly. Roots, growth, something strong but still beautiful.'" His voice trembled slightly. "She got pregnant a year later. We were both terrified, but happy, so happy." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, as if holding the weight of that happiness in his hands. "Then one night we went out to celebrate, nothing fancy, just dinner and a drive. She loved late-night drives, said the world looked gentler with fewer headlights." His fingers closed around the edge of the bench. "There was a drunk driver. He ran a red light, hit us from the side. I woke up in the hospital. They told me—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Lily's eyes were wide, but not with fear, with empathy. Keanu's voice was barely more than breath now. She was gone, and so was Juniper. The park faded. Time slowed. He looked down, blinking away tears. "I didn't want to live after that. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I left everything. I walked for months, cities, countries. I slept in train stations, ate whatever I could find, and every night I saw her in my dreams, laughing, holding our child." He turned toward Lily, his voice steadier now but heavy. "I came back to this bench because it was ours. We used to sit here every Sunday morning, talk about nothing, watch the world go by, plan for a future that never came." Lily didn't say a word. She reached out, placed her tiny hand gently on top of his. It was small, but steady, present. "I think she still comes here," Lily said softly, "even if you can't see her." Keanu closed his eyes. "She said something to me once, right before the crash. I think about it every day." "What did she say?" Lily whispered. He looked up at the sky, as if reading the words from the clouds. "Promise me you won't stop loving the world, even if it breaks you." A silence fell over them, sacred and unshaken. The kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled, the kind that becomes a home. For a long while they sat there, hand in hand, one man and one child, linked not by blood or name, but by the quiet understanding that pain, when shared, becomes something else. Not lighter, not gone, but no longer unbearable. The world seemed to pause after Keanu spoke those words. Even the trees, tall and unmoving, looked softer somehow, less like wood and bark and more like gentle witnesses to something sacred. The sun filtered through in long golden ribbons. Somewhere nearby, a bird let out a single note, then stopped. Lily didn't speak. She didn't ask questions. She didn't say, "I'm sorry," because she knew in that innocent way only children can know that sometimes words aren't enough. Sometimes the best thing you can do is be there. She quietly reached into her jacket again, rummaging through a pocket until her fingers found what she was looking for, another lollipop. This one was blue, swirled with white like a tiny globe. Without a word, she peeled off the wrapper, careful not to tear it, then gently placed the candy on Keanu's knee. "For her," she whispered, "in case she ever comes back." Keanu looked down, eyes stinging. This wasn't just a piece of candy. It was a child's offering, a small gesture wrapped in deep understanding. She didn't pretend to fix him. She didn't try to distract him. She honored the space he had created, for love, for grief, for memory. And now, she was offering him something new, a seed of belief, that maybe, just maybe, he didn't have to guard the bench forever. "Thank you," he said, voice thick. "You didn't have to do that." Lily shrugged. "She was important to you, that makes her important to me." He closed his eyes for a second. The weight in his chest didn't disappear, but it shifted. It moved, just a little, like something ancient had cracked open, letting the light touch it for the first time in years. "You know," Lily said, kicking her feet slowly, "my dad left when I was 4. He said he'd be back, but he never came." Keanu turned to her, surprised by the sudden honesty. "I used to wait by the mailbox," she continued, "every day, even when it rained. I thought maybe he got lost or something, or maybe he forgot where we lived." She smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "And then one day I stopped waiting. I left a lollipop in the mailbox, just in case." Keanu's breath caught. There it was again, that quiet wisdom, not bitter, not broken, just brave. "What color was it?" he asked. "Red, like the kind you said no to." They both laughed, a soft, almost surprised sound. It felt strange, laughing beside so much sorrow, but in a way it felt right. Like maybe sorrow and joy weren't enemies, just old neighbors, learning to sit on the same bench. Lily looked around, then back at him. "I think we both waited a long time," she said. "Maybe too long." Keanu nodded slowly. "Maybe." She stood up, brushing crumbs from her dress. "But maybe now, we don't have to." There was something final in her tone, something clear, like she had come, done what she needed to do, and was ready to leave. But Keanu wasn't ready for her to go. "Not yet." "Lily," he said, standing with her, "why did you sit with me today? Out of everyone in the park, why me?" She tilted her head, thoughtful. "Because you looked like someone who needed a friend, and because I think she told me to." Keanu's heart skipped. "She?" he asked. Lily smiled, pointing to the spot beside him, the empty space he never let anyone sit in. "She was here when I arrived, not with her body, but with her love. You could feel it. You can still feel it." He followed her gaze, and for the first time since she had gone, he allowed himself to believe it was true. The air changed, not colder, not warmer, just lighter. A breeze passed through, carrying a scent he hadn't smelled in years, lavender and citrus, her favorite. He didn't question it. Lily took a step back. "I think she's ready now." "Ready?" he asked. "For you to walk away." Keanu looked down at the candy on his knee, then back at the girl standing before him. He had carried grief like a stone, heavy, immovable, sacred. But now a child had handed him something different. Permission. Permission to walk, not away from her, but forward with her. She said love doesn't leave, Lily added. It just finds new places to live. Keanu placed the blue lollipop gently in his coat pocket, a small, quiet promise. Then he did something he hadn't done in years. He stood up and didn't look back. They say grief never truly leaves. It just learns to walk beside you. Keanu took a step forward. The bench, for so long a monument to his sorrow, now stood quietly behind him. It hadn't changed. The wood was still worn, The metal armrest still bore a faint scratch from years ago, carved with her key while laughing. "So they know we were here?" He turned to Lily, who now stood with her hands behind her back, squinting toward the sky like she was trying to memorize the shape of every cloud. "I don't know how to thank you," he said. She smiled. "You don't have to." "But you changed something," he continued, "in me." She looked at him, serious now. "I didn't change anything. I just reminded you that love doesn't die when people do." A gust of wind moved through the park, stirring leaves into little spirals around their feet. Keanu inhaled deeply. It was the first breath in years that didn't hurt. Lily took a step back, her shoes crunching softly on the gravel path. "I have to go now. My mom's waiting." Keanu nodded. "Will you come back?" She thought for a moment, then shrugged. "Maybe. Maybe not. But I think you'll be okay either way." He watched as she turned and ran toward the trees, her curls bouncing with every step. No goodbye, no wave, just a child vanishing into the Sunday light as suddenly as she'd appeared. And maybe that was the point. She wasn't meant to stay, she was meant to arrive exactly when he needed her most and leave when he no longer did. Keanu stood there, alone again. But this aloneness felt different now. Not empty, not echoing. It was full of memory, and something more. Movement. He reached into his coat pocket, his fingers brushing against the round curve of the blue lollipop. Still untouched. Still whole. He didn't know what he would do with it. Maybe he'd leave it on the bench. Maybe he'd keep it in his drawer. Maybe, one day, he'd give it to someone else who needed it more. He walked slowly down the path, past the fountain, past the food cart with the man who always nodded politely, past the statue of the soldier holding a letter in his bronze hand. And with every step, he felt the bench growing smaller behind him. But she wasn't getting smaller. She was with him, not in ghost or shadow, but in the tilt of his head, the way he noticed the light through the trees, the softness in his voice when he spoke to a stranger. He remembered something she had said once, on a night when the world felt overwhelming and loud. "You don't have to carry the whole sky, Keanu, just the stars that matter to you." So he did. He carried her laugh. He carried the name, Juniper. He carried Lily's drawing, now folded carefully in his pocket, branches made of hearts, reaching out in every direction. He carried love. And as he reached the gates of the park, just before stepping out into the streets of the city, he paused. He turned one last time to look back, not at the bench, but at everything it had held. Sorrow, silence, memory, and now, release. A soft smile formed on his face. He whispered, more to the wind than to anyone at all, "I didn't stop loving the world, even when it broke me." Then he stepped forward, into the noise, into the life, into everything ahead. And the bench? It stayed right where it was. Empty, quiet, and for the first time in a long time, at peace.